But one thing I want to make sure to flag for folks, look, we've been talking this first hour about China's takeover of Hong Kong and how dangerous it is, what the ramifications. We played, and we have another good clip coming here from Max Baucus. The Wall Street Journal, who we've been critical at various points with regard to the editorial board as well as the op-ed page. Lead editorial this morning, China moves on Hong Kong. Beijing plans a national security law. Is Taiwan next? That's not a shot across the bow. That is taking the full bazooka from the Wall Street Journal and firing it right at the CCP. To go and throw that down, that number one, that's forward-looking. Got to give Jiggot and team credit on that. Number two, there is nothing soft or indirect. That is a 2x4 right upside your head.
Before we go further, I've spent a lot of time, but you spent time in both Hong Kong, in mainland China, talking to senior leaders, giving your perspective on the United States, where we are. How were you caught by surprise of how brutal the CCP now after the kind of freedom marches and riots they've had in the summer of last year, of how they're moving forward and kind of putting it in the grill of the United States?
Yes, because Hong Kong has always been the kind of the protected bastion. This is where all the capital is. If you know anything about it, pay attention to business in China, CCP has for a long time wanted to go and move all the business to Shanghai. And they've pretty explicitly thrown down on people and said, don't rent in Hong Kong, don't buy, because you're going to need to relocate to Shanghai. That's their play. And in fact, Hong Kong, which is one of the coolest cities on the planet, if you've not spent time there, do it before it's closed off permanently. But the fact of the matter is, they're supposed to. That's where the free capital can flow through, because everyone knows that the RMB is funny money and it doesn't really work and don't have democracy. But Hong Kong, where you have that little bit of democracy, they've now thrown out any pretense of that. They're saying, "Hey guys, we're coming in. We're taking this thing over. Forget this whole 50-year handoff. We're moving in for the kill."
But I want to bring in the Brits here for a second, because look, when I started going to Hong Kong as a naval officer in the 70s. It immediately is one of the reasons as a kid I always wanted to join the Pacific Fleet. I wanted to get to China, and what I wanted to do was go to Hong Kong. To go there absolutely blew you away. It was still a British colony, but it was both China and England. I thought the best of both. And you'd have the Chinese judges walking across to the Supreme Court with the red robes and the wigs. It was so old school, but it worked. It had a certain precision of how it worked. It was still that, and the Brits under Margaret Thatcher understood they couldn't keep this for a long time, but they spent a long time negotiating. In fact, Jonah Bianco of the American Bond Foundation, the Americans got stiffed on the bonds. The British got paid off because they realized they were doing a macro deal. But at that time when they did it, with Margaret Thatcher, the Iron Lady, it was a 50-year deal, one country, two systems. They were guaranteed by the United Kingdom and the United States really as guarantors, right, to even do this. That I think we actually passed legislation at the time to kind of support it. That's how serious this was. But what a huge thing about the handover and all that in 1997 for 50 years. And for these guys to roll, and they've a little bit taken each year, taking it back. But now this is a bold move. Where is the United Kingdom? Where's Chris Patton? Where's Tony Blair? It was on his watch. It was Chris Patton. Where are all these guys today to stand up for the greatness of the United Kingdom, who were really the guys that made the deal?
Look, the British government, the spokesman for the Prime Minister today saying they expect China to keep up its end of the bargain, but that's about as far as the British government's willing to go at this point. I would like to know, where's Prince Charles on this, because Prince Charles, the heir to the throne, is the guy who went there in 1997 and presided over the handover ceremony. It's really worth reading, and I'm going to tweet and I'm going to pop it into the YouTube live chat, the edited extracts from Prince Charles's travel journal, which was released in 2006. I've read it, the section called The Handover of Hong Kong, or The Great Chinese Takeaway, and that's in his words. And he writes about the propaganda speech that Jiang Zemin gives there. He writes about the handover, and he says something that haunts me from the time I read this. He says, "Thus we left Hong Kong to her fate and the hope that Martin Lee, the leader of the Democrats, would not be arrested."
And quickly before we go to break, Bloomberg, this isn't just us speculating on it. Bloomberg out this morning, China dares Trump to hit back with Hong Kong power grab. And with Xi sending a clear message to Trump, we're going to do what we want in Hong Kong, and we're not scared of the consequences. It's on.
Game on, ladies and gentlemen. Do you want Trump or do you want Biden? We're going to be back. War Room Pandemic in a moment.